All right, hello and welcome to today's webinar on boosting ads to your cart. My name is Mike Fradkin and I'll be your host today. Before we get started, I want to mention that this webinar is being recorded and will be available on our website as well as our YouTube channel at a later time. If you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to enter those into your question panel as we will be answering questions at the end of the session. With me today is Paul Terry. Paul's one of our longest tenured optimization consultants. We're also joined by Jim Rushforth and Kurt Myers, two of our top optimization solution engineers. This webinar is part of a weekly series we've been holding for the past month. Each week we focus on a specific optimization and personalization topic, and we've shared lessons we've learned working with our customers that we think are valuable to pass on. So with that, I'm going to hand things off to our optimization consultant, Paul Terry. Paul?
Thanks, Mike. So today's topic is boosting ads to cart. There's a lot to talk about here. We usually have add to carts several places on our site. I'm going to focus most of this talk on the product detail page. That's where most of the add to carts happen. But some of it is extrapolatable to other areas of the site as well. The product detail page is really important, obviously. I'm kind of going here with e-commerce, but this extrapolates as well to lead gen. But some of the terminology I'll use will be from e-commerce. Sales techniques have basically not changed at all in a long time. There's old as dirt. Sales techniques are as old as dirt. They still mostly apply to e-commerce, as they did to silk and spice 1,000 years ago. I think you're one slide ahead there if you want to go back a little bit, one slide there. There you go, cool. Okay, so, sales techniques have not changed in a long time. Today, online, we use images, written descriptions, testimonials, videos, numbers, in smaller numbers to make the case to buy. What's remained constant is our task, though. Convincing our customer that this is the right product for the right price and that you can trust me to deliver on both. So that hasn't changed, although everything else about it has changed. How we present our products, how we present the features, the value, how we present us as the seller and our trustworthiness. But all those things still apply. So I see a lot of more emphasis on managing the price than promoting the product. We have the price and we have what the price used to be and the sale price and the promotional price and the bundle price, probably a few other prices. I don't think we spend enough time actually convincing the customer that this is the right product, that this is the best value, it's what they're looking for, it's got the features that they want. Obviously, we're presenting that information to them, making sure they consume it so they know, because they can't actually physically touch the product, they can't hold it in their hands, but they can actually receive a lot more information about the product than they could in just a store. Too often I see content, excellent content, buried below the fold on the product detail page. Right? Sometimes it's in a tab that doesn't even look clickable. It's way down there. Some copywriter has beautifully described how magnificent the gadget will work in your kitchen, or how the Italian leather has been handcrafted and dyed with painstaking precision. Your age-old techniques, right? But these words will only be read by like 10% of your PDP viewers because it's buried beneath a big horizontal list of other products you might like. So these photos and beautifully written descriptions, a lot of that should be above the fold, front and center. Make the sale. Tell me about this product. What are the major features of this product that make it the right product for my needs? Right? We need to accentuate that, not bury it way down in the page somewhere. Now I'm going to come back to that, but before attempting any optimization on the PDP, and I think pretty much we can agree that the KPI for the PDP is the ATC. How about that? Add to cart. Before we really attempt to do that, I encourage you to take a lot of measurements and understand the content that the users see, right? How far down the page did the user scroll? Which major content areas scrolled into view? How much time did they spend there looking at it? And I think you'll find that those users who happen to consume the content on the page are more likely to purchase. Now I'm going to come back to some ideas, well, a particular idea here in a minute, of how to make sure that your sales technique is effective. But right now, let's talk about the Add to Cart button. Let's go to the next slide. So the Add to Cart button, believe it or not, yes, I have to say this, it needs to be above the fold. A lot of times you'll see it below the fold a few times. And if it's below the fold, then there you go, really low-hanging fruit for your test. It should be a soft color, but no shade of red. That's pretty elementary, but it's really important. Red means no or stop. And it's just something it's ingrained in our heads. Try a gentle hover state on this button. It makes the site look alive. It makes it look attuned. It makes it look like it's ready for me to work with. Now, selections. The selections like quantity and style and size and other options that you may have, bundle choices. These controls should be very, very simple, and they should all be apparent. Avoid drop downs if you can. Doesn't always make sense to avoid them, but keep them simple and keep them all right out there. Have the most popular defaults already established where applicable, probably not size, but the most popular bundles, the most popular styles, the one you want to lead off with. And have immediate and in-place error messaging, right? If they haven't selected something, it should very gently, carefully tell them right there and then, don't take them off somewhere else. But test these as well as A/B testing. Test your PDPs on regular people. User testing, formal user testing in all of its modern forms is a beautiful matchup to A/B testing. Watch real people try to accomplish their goals on your page, and sometimes you'll get good surprises there. Let's go to the next slide, and we're going to talk about around the Add to Cart button. So you want to backstop your Add to Cart with confidence messaging, security and trust, warranty information. They're hovering that mouse over the Add to Cart button. If they're ever looking at that, they're getting close. And to some extent, there's going to be questions in the back of their mind. Some people, it's like, is this site trustworthy? I'd like to buy this. So push them over the edge. Give them confidence. Let them know that the decision they're about to make is the right one. In-stock messaging should be apparent right there if possible. You may not know, but you ought to be able to have some kind of idea on this delivery messaging, the next one. If you might not know whether it's in stock, hopefully you do. You should. If you don't, try to get there. The delivery, you may not know whether it's going next door or around the world, but try to give some indication if you can, especially obviously if you know who the user is. If they're a return user, you should be able to. Again, these are nagging questions. Very often you've got another PDP open in the next window and it's your competitor. And price is an element, but another big element is confidence that they're going to get their product when they want to get their product And if there's an issue, they're going to be able to return it. All these things are going through their head. You're being compared in real time. You're in competition. So make your best case, making that sale happen. Again, these are age-old techniques, but the job remains the same. The right product at the right price, and I'm convincing you that I can deliver on both of those. This is the job of the PDP to get to that add to cart button. All right, now let's go to the next slide. I'm going to talk about an idea that you should test, especially if you have any kind of a complex product. And a lot of products have a lot of features. You have a lot to say about these products. You may have, this example here is an overview, specifications, reviews, accessories, frequently asked questions, support topics. So I've seen this technique, this test idea. I've seen this technique work many times, and we promote this idea with a lot of folks, and I've never seen it fail to lift add to cart. Especially for, again, products that you have a lot of content below the fold. We can't fit everything above the fold, but you would be surprised how many users go to your PDP and go, oh, nice picture of the product. Okay, I see the price, I see the add to cart button. Well, I don't know, they don't have a lot of detail on it, and they just go to the next one because maybe your page looks complete. I know you're thinking, oh, nobody would do that. Try this, see who consumes the content. And this is a help to get them to consume more of that beautiful content. I'm running this with a client right now. It's been running for a week, and they already have, sales are up 6.8% at statistical significance. We'll see where it lands. But this one is running currently, and we've run it in the past. It works, believe me. All right, so it's a horizontal navigation bar. It starts at the bottom of the browser. It has to always appear there. So dynamic placement, depending on the window, you have to ensure that it is apparent along the bottom of the PDP, no matter what the device is. Obviously, this is going to be different in mobile, so be careful with your device implementations. The links down there are just simple links down to the sections that these users are looking for. They want to look at reviews. They want to know you have specifications, things like that. So they go right down there, right? They just anchor a link down there to the below the fold. The add to cart button and the price appears, perhaps, and this is a buy now button here with this example, but whatever you use. But those appear once you've scrolled the bar up out of the way. So what happens is, as you scroll down the page, this bar goes up the page and anchors to the top of the page, right? So as you scroll all the way down the page, this anchors to the top of the page. And when the buy now or add to cart button scrolls out of view, it pops up here, right? It should always be present on the page. It should never not be present. So building a test for this is really simple, not complicated at all. And I know the buy now button or the add to cart button may have some complexities and things, so don't sweat it. For the sake of the test, and actually probably for the sake of implementation as well, this navigation bar button could simply take you to the top of the page where they'll see the other add to cart button. The purpose of this, again, is to make sure that the user knows right when they land on that page that you've got beautiful content below. You may have wonderful reviews, complete specifications of some kind of a technical product or whatever. So again, this is helping you make good communication and make your sales case to your customers so they don't think you don't have much to say. Okay, try it out, give it a shot. Again, what you want to measure with this is consumption of content. So as they go to the overview, whether they scroll down without the bar and the control, or they just, go down there with the bar, or they click on the link, whatever, consumption of the different areas. and correlate that to add to cart and conversion. And I think depending on whether you already have something that's on your site, and I've seen some sites that have this, but they don't ensure that it's there on the initial load of the page at the bottom of the window. So if you in that situation, make sure that it's there always, always, always on the page. Okay, let's look at some more examples. Let's go to the next slide. We're going to look at some more examples of the ways in which our clients have boosted add to cart. This one is a motorcycle gear retailer. They added thumbnails to the PDP for mobile. They ran it for 15 days, and let's see what happened. Let's look at the results. They had a 5.7 increase in alternate image views, just adding thumbnails. That's all they did is add thumbnails. They had a 5.3% lift in add to carts, a 10.2% increase in revenue, $45,000 increase in revenue in just a 15-day test alone. Just 2 weeks, not to mention the rest of the year, right? Let's go to the next slide. This is a clothing retailer, and they streamlined the shopping process by removing the quantity selector. They said, you know, 98% of the users that buy this product, they only buy one. Doesn't make sense to buy 10 of these things. I know it seems trivial, it seems crazy. I don't know what their old quantity selector looked like, but it might have been some kind of hard to use thing, and maybe it didn't work on all devices really well. Anyway, they got rid of it. Let's see what happened. 2.5, 2.6% add to cart ad. They increased checkout by 2.7%. Revenue per visit up in tandem, $93,000 just during the campaign itself. Let's go to another one. This one, they redesigned the PDP with larger images, alternate thumbnails. They worked on the graphical color and size versus the pull downs. Those pull downs, sometimes they're, you know, unnecessary. And they don't show all the information. They just show what you've selected, and you got to actually click something to see the other options. They're not really good. These guys, 7% increase in add to cart, 5.6% increase in checkout. Again, same thing with revenue per visit, and a $3.7 million estimated annual revenue impact. Wow. Crazy, right? All right, let's go to another one. So this one, they boosted add to cart by adding a Zoom functionality, right? I think this was, it was a UK-based, or EU-based anyway, health food chain. And they added a Zoom functionality for the product detail page for mobile users. Because, you know, a lot of times on mobile, you don't have as much real estate, and that little image, you can't really tell. All they did is add a Zoom functionality. Let's see what happened. On to the next slide. Okay, so 6,700 additional add to carts and 37K pounds additional revenue just during the test, which was about 1.5 to 2 months. So little things here can boost your add to cart. Again, the idea here is to communicate better, to promote your product as much as you do your sale price, and make sure that your user enjoys all the rich content that you have and that you make your case. Okay, let's dip into the tool real fast here, and let's see if I think we're going to be able to see how we can make some changes similar to what we've been showing you. Jim?
Hey guys, thanks Paul for the intro. All right guys, so I'm just going to show you real quick a super simple example of how you can implement a change. So, you know, within SiteSpec, you know, the first thing you do is obviously you define a campaign, you run it, and then you dive into the analytics. So we're just going to look at how you set up a test, kind of what we call the build flow. So when you go into the tool or the console, however you would like to define it, there are 4 main kind of tasks that you have to do to set up a test. Okay, so first thing is we'll look at the general right here. So this is where you kind of define all the metadata. You give it a name. Maybe you just kind of label your hypothesis. So in this one, we're going to change the add to cart button label to say buy now on the product page and see what happens. You kind of control, you know, when to launch the experiment, how long it's going to run, or the state it is. And when you're developing a test within SiteSpec, you can do it. It's very, very simple, literally just selecting what type of test you want to create, right? So in this example, we're going to do a client-side test, but we could easily apply this and make it a standard test, which would be server-side. So we won't dig too deep into that, but just know that it's there. And a really cool thing about SiteSpec is as you're developing the experiment or the test, you can literally look at your changes and see if, you know, as you're building out the experiment to see what it looks like and then share that. And that's the preview link right here. So in this particular example, we decided to run a client-side test because it's a single-page application, okay? Now, this is a really simple test. When you create your variations, okay, you're going to be, you can either build them in kind of a code editor mode or a visual editor. And what you're looking at here is you're looking at two variation groups, so to speak, okay? So you have the original, which is the control, and then we're gonna actually change the button label, right? So let's take a real quick look at, see what that looks like for the control group. Okay, so we're gonna dig down here, we'll go into the product page, and then you can see this says add to cart, right? So that's what we're gonna change right there. We're gonna change that button label, right? And again, it's a single page application. So how do we do that? Well, we'll go and drop into here, and this is the variation group, okay? So we're just calling it change button label. It only has one variation within the variation group. You can have multiple variation groups, and within each one of those groups, you can have multiple variations or multiple changes, okay? So this is, again, just super simple one-on-one sort of thing right here. So what in this one here, we're just basically saying, again, it's a single page application. So what our trigger is going to be is basically a path, right? So if we're in the products path or the products section, we'll make this change. And what we're doing is we're looking for the selector on this particular example, and then we're going to manipulate the label on the button right there. So let's see what that looks like real quick. So if we go into preview, and again, this is, you know, this is in my environment. This doesn't necessarily have to be launched onto the site. Once we get through developing it, then we can bring this change live. So we're going to go in here, and I'll drop in here, and again, you can see we modified the button right there. So that's just real quick, you know, and worth mentioning too is just you have the ability to you know, split the traffic however you will. So this is just, you know, this particular one's just going to be 50-50, right? Unless we want to modify that and do, you know, custom values there. If there were if there was another variation group, you'd see 33. So it's super easy to split the traffic. And what's really cool is you can share this stuff. So you can share the preview link. So if you want to, you know, build this into your workflow and your QA team, you can simply share this with the requester of the change. Very easy to do there. So that's the variation groups. And real quick, I'll just touch on metrics. So you have a library where you can simply drag and drop stuff. So in this particular case, right, where add to cart button is going to be our KPI, and then you can drag in as many other metrics and things that you want to track within the analytics. And again, this is a library that's pre-built. However, you can build these on the fly real quickly. And then audiences work the same. They're predefined library, and you simply drag and drop. So for this particular test, we're going to test. We just want to test in the U.S., so we're going to include the geo-US, and we don't want to include mobile devices. And that's it. And once you get through with doing that, you can, and QAing this, you can simply bring it live. You don't have to involve the IT department. You don't necessarily need developers involved. Yeah, so that's a super simple example. Real quick, I'll just show you a slightly more complicated or comprehensive sort of changes. So again, we're just doing 2 variation groups, but in this one, we're actually going to do 3 changes within that variation group. So we're going to add a little badge. Okay. And again, this is client side. So we're going to basically add a badge that says 50% off. We're going to do a style change. And that is actually going to be done server side. Okay, hold on. There we go. So there's a CSS code right there that's going to basically style that, but that's going to happen on the server side. And then we're going to actually modify the pricing format. Okay, so we've got a little custom piece of Java code that's simply going to put one price in with a slash, and then put it, you know, basically cut that price in half. And this is all being done dynamically. So whatever the price is that's populating is literally looking for that price and then dividing it by 2. Okay, and then displaying that. So let's take a look and see what that looks like. So we'll go into preview here. Okay, and we'll go in here, and then you can see right here. So basically there's the badge that we had at 50% off. And then there's the dynamic pricing change and display that was made. So that is a quick view of the build flow and how you can make changes. I'll turn it back to Mike and Paul for Q&A.
Great. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate that. Share my screen back. So we're really just looking here questions and answers. So I know some of you joined maybe after we started, but if you have any questions, please enter them into the question panel, and I can take a look at those and feed them over to Paul and Jim as needed. Just take a look and see if we have any questions. Yeah, we do have a couple here actually. Paul, I think this one's for you. How do the concepts you talked about today apply to non-retail companies like those in financial services or healthcare?
So it's basically, again, back to the fundamentals here. The add to cart, we're boosting add to cart, which means it's a level of commitment. Whether it's a product or a service, it really doesn't matter. And we've been talking about the PDP. And so, again, you want to make sure that you communicate your sales, whatever your sales technique is, whatever that is for whatever product or service, that you make sure that the user consumes that entire sales pitch, right? And that you convince them that this is the right product or service, it is the right price, or potentially you're going to have that price discussion next. I don't know. It depends on how you do it. With financial services, that could be. But also that you're a trusted advisor, that you're a trusted place to purchase that service or product from. So keep those things in mind, and it basically applies to any kind of transaction that you can do on the web.
Great. I have another couple questions here, and feel free to enter them into the panel if you have any additional for those folks on the call. Another question here. Paul, I think this is probably for you as well. When is the best time to show product recommendations? Is it as people add things to cart, on the cart page itself, or should you stop them right before checkout and show them additional recommendations? What works best?
Well, we find that there are different algorithms for product recommendations in different stages of the journey. Well, for example, our tool has multiple algorithms that you can select, whether it's companion products, whether it's instead of, also like there's a lot of different algorithms you can use in different parts of the journey, whether it's the home page, the search result, the product detail page, or on add to cart, actually in the cart. And the other thing is, we encourage you to test these. Our product recommendations, for example, you can, what Jim just showed you as setting up some kind of a test, well, those product recommendation modules just pop in right there. So you can test different presentations with different algorithms in different parts of your site, right? So you optimize that just the same way you would optimize any other part of your site. But we do have the default set for the most typical algorithms to be used. But bottom line is there's no one answer there. You want to optimize based on real traffic and real results.
Fantastic. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate that. Well, we're here at the half an hour, so we're about out of time. I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. If you have additional questions or want any further information on today's topic or SiteSpec in general, please feel free to email us at info@sitespec.com. That's info@sitespec.com. We hope you'll join us for our next webinar, which is based on more click-through and more engagement. Until then, we wish you and your family continued safety and good health. Have a great day.